The final chapter of The Stranger has always to me stood out as a chapter on its own, as a sort of summation that all previous chapters culminate towards. Here we see Meursault reach a new level of self-analysis, taking him outside of the present moment and into his contemplations towards life and death in the final chapter of The Stranger. The structure of this final chapter has a simple but extraordinary arc to it. You see, for the first time, Meursault is confronted with the reality of his own death. He's been sentenced to be executed, and now he can only wait to die. What is especially striking to Meursault is the inevitability of his death. He calls it the machinery of justice, the relentless machinery, the implacable ritual, the arrogant certainty, and the imperturbable march of events. He is going to die, and the system that will bring about his death has a cold, sinister, inescapable quality to it. Although death has surrounded Meursault since the novel's first sentence, he hasn't really paid much attention to it until right now. Now, death is real. Now, the inevitability of it is something, he says, became as real and as serious as the wall against which I pressed the length of my body. He is going to die. He even comments on how there is nothing more important than an execution, and that when you come right down to it, it was the only thing a man could truly be interested in. Finally, he understands death, and he understands that it is going to apply to him. So naturally, much of Meursault's time is spent thinking about how he can get out of his execution. He wonders if there's any chance to escape from prison and break free. He wonders about the possibility that they would invent a chemical mixture that would kill a man only 9 out of 10 times, giving him a chance. He wonders about his appeal and if it might get him off the hook. He even hopes for miraculously being pardoned and set free. He's looking for any way to get out of his execution. Any reason to have hope for release. What he realizes through the course of these fantasies is that it doesn't matter whether you die at 30 or at 70. Whether it was now or 20 years from now, I would still be the one dying. The conclusion that slowly dawns on him is this, that we're all going to die. We're all, in a sense, on death row, waiting to be executed. His death will come sooner than others, but still, we're all going to die at some point. The shocking inevitability of that fact startles the sensibilities. What can Meursault do in light of this inevitability? The only thing we can do, according to the story, is to embrace the fact of death. But there's something else important happening during Meursault's time in prison as well. He refuses to see the chaplain. A chaplain is like a priest assigned to a specific institution, like a prison, and Meursault wants nothing to do with a chaplain who's been trying to visit him. In fact, the chapter begins with Meursault telling us, "For the third time, I've refused to see the chaplain." The chaplain in this story represents more than just religion. We've seen Meursault resist religion throughout the story, from his disdain of Sundays to his refusal to place his trust in God when he was with the magistrate. Religion represents not just the specific hope of redemption offered through Christianity. In this story, religion represents meaning. Life, as Meursault sees it, has no meaning, and he refuses to entertain the possibility that there is one. The magistrate in chapter 1 had asked Meursault, "Do you want my life to be meaningless?" when Meursault refuses to believe in God. And this is the fear the novel points to, the fear of the meaninglessness of life. The chaplain himself, once he finally barges into the prison cell, does his best to persuade Meursault to accept religion, but Meursault sees himself as a peculiar sort of hero. He refuses to accept any meaning in life, but rather embraces the meaninglessness of life and the inevitability of death. In a surprising burst of outrage, Meursault yells at the chaplain, saying, "I was sure about me, about everything, surer than he could ever be sure of my life, and sure of the death I had waiting for me. Yes, that was all I had, but at least I had as much of a hold on it as it had on me." He realizes that, because of death, nothing matters. Living doesn't matter, what we do in life doesn't matter, and death itself doesn't matter. It's with this final realization and embracing of death and meaninglessness that Meursault confronts his execution. He understands that he hasn't cared about life, but at the same time, the world hasn't cared about him. The world is so much like myself, so like a brother, really. I felt that I had been happy and that I was happy again. He realizes that his indifference is the same as the indifference of the universe, and it's in this understanding, this final epiphany, that the sirens sounding the coming of his execution blare. As he anticipates his imminent death, Meursault's final thought is that he hopes there's a large crowd of spectators the day of my execution, and that they greet me with cries of hate. This famous closing line echoes with a depressing triumph. Meursault recognizes that what makes him different, what makes him so easily hated by the world, is his adherence to the truth about life. He knows what no one seems to acknowledge, that life is meaningless, and so is death. He feels oddly proud of his embracing of the absurd meaninglessness of life, and therefore is able to march boldly to his death. So, what is the meaning of life? We see that the stranger advocates an absurdist notion through Meursault's character and realizations. Life has no meaning. We can assign no meaning to life. The only thing we can do, according to this classic, is embrace the meaninglessness and wait for death to come. But of course, that's only one opinion. What do you think? Until next time, see ya.